Of course, we're going to wait about 2 minutes just to get people into the room. But as we get started today, just something a little fun. Without thinking too much, can you drop a Christmas carol into the chat box? It can be obscure. Like I was thinking of one from David Bowie and Frank Sinatra that was like super wild. Um, it can be obscure, it can be your favorite, it can be funny, anything at all, but just drop a Christmas carol into the chat box, please. Oh, David, I can't wait to go listen to that.
Jane McGowan of the Pogues. And what was her name? Christy McCall, I think. It's just a really beautiful song, but it is, if you listen to the lyrics, you will need to take a break.
Not even sure I know how to spell Sinatra anymore. Oh, it was Little Drummer Boy. I'm going to go ahead and just speak really slowly as we get people into the room today. Hello and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you. We are at our last community council meeting for the calendar year, and we're in for just a really fun one. We will do three main things through today. We will hear an incredible presentation from some fine researchers about how Mecklenburg County is going to begin to measure some of the ecosystem development work we've all been doing. We're going to hear from our first Connect Tech partners, and we are going to have partner updates. So through the course of today, please just chat room. Natalie's in there, managing all of the good thoughts and good ideas. And if we're ready, I'm going to go ahead and get started with just one more reminder. Your favorite carol in the chat box, please. Oh, Corolla, I love that rendition. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to introduce two of the finest researchers in digital inclusion in this country. One, we are very lucky, is local and has been working with the Center for Digital Equity for a long time. One is out of Perdue and has been analyzing and mapping and visualizing data inclusion for this country for a long time as well. For those of you who have been on our data partner team, you will begin to see the through line from where we began to where we are now. If you remember, we all got started with, okay, how many people have internet? How many skilling opportunities are there in a community? And how many people have access to a computer? That counting has been very important work, and we will continue that work trying to reduce the gaps. But the ecosystem itself is ready to make a larger jump, and we're lucky in Mecklenburg County that we've been kind of ahead of the curve for a long time. So we'll take that data about how many things are happening and begin to try and tie it to ecosystem growth and individual learner growth, so we can really see what's happening in organizations and what's happening with individual learners on the ground. So getting us there would be probably one of this nation's best pictures of how do you really move the needle and measure on digital inclusion. So, enough of my chat. I'm going to introduce Dr. Bibi Reisdorf and Dr. Roberto Gallardo, who will take over the presentation. The chat box is open, questions encouraged the entire time, and then we will jump into those at the end of their presentation. We're
Thank
ready.
you, Amy. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Hold on just a second. Okay, can you all still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much for having us. I am Bibi Reisdorf. I am an associate professor here at UNC Charlotte, and I'll hand over to Roberto.
Hello, everybody. I am Roberto Gallardo, and I'm an associate professor at Perdue University here in the cold Midwest. Nice to meet you all.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about what data are out there right now, what kinds of data or what kinds of things we know, and then we'll talk about what we don't know and what we're doing with the CDE. So you might have heard about a bunch of these before, so I'm not going to go into too much depth, but if you have been working with any national data, you might have come across the American Community Survey, which has a few measures related to digital equity, which are access to devices and home internet, and then all the sociodemographics that you could associate with that. And we can go pretty granular with those data on the census block level, especially at the 5-year intervals where they essentially try to put all the data together over 5 years for the entire country. And then we also have NTIA data, so National Telecommunications and Information Association data, which has a separate internet use survey. And so that kind of survey is, I would probably say, the most rounded one when it comes to digital equity on the national landscape. And it has data on devices and internet access, but they also have some additional data and some additional questions on issues related to underconnectedness, which means that people might have a laptop or they might have the internet, but it's slow, it's unreliable, they might have to share it with too many people. So that's relating to underconnectedness. And then interestingly, they're also asking questions about what people do online. So we get a much better picture on what's going on with that. And they also have some questions related to privacy, internet privacy, and how people feel about their privacy online. We also have FCC data, so Federal Communications Commission data that are collected about what's available in terms of broadband data, broadband connections across the country. So they ask providers, technology type, and the maximum advertised speeds. The problem with that data is it comes directly from the providers. And so, some providers might exaggerate a little bit what's available versus what you can actually get on the street, if you will. And then we also have the Ookla speed test. So if you've ever run a speed test on your device, it's likely that it was an Ookla speed test, which has the average download and upload speeds, average latency, and the number of tests. The problem with that data is that usually when people take speed tests, it's because something's wrong. So some of the data might be a little under exaggerated, if you will. I'm going to pass on to Roberto.
Yes, thank you. And we also have developed based on these secondary data sources. So please forgive us if we nerd out a little bit, but we felt it was important to kind of clarify the types of data that researchers use. As Bibi was sharing with you, when it's created by somebody else, right? It's called secondary data, but you can then also create from that secondary data other types of indices. And for example, we created the Digital Divide Index here at Purdue University, where you can Google it, or I can share the link on the chat if you want, if needed or interested. That one looks at, it takes a lot of the sources that Bibi just went over, but it kind of combines them into a 3 different types of scores, where you have the infrastructure adoption score, you have the socioeconomic score, and then you have the overall digital divide index score. Both the infrastructure and adoption score and the socioeconomic score were developed to help communities like yours to kind of help prioritize where do you want to focus on the digital divide? Now, this was created almost 10 years ago, but it's still applicable in the sense that it does factor in the socioeconomic variables that we know affect technology adoption. So you can see if the socioeconomic score is way higher than the infrastructure adoption score, then perhaps you want to focus on digital literacy, relevance, workshops, technical support, whatever the case may be. But anyhow, the point is that you can take these secondary data and you can come up with very creative other data to use it. The Pew Research has an extensive data sets and surveys of related to broadband. The last one I'm seeing here is the Americans' use of mobile technology and home broadband. They have by race, by educational attainment. It's a very, very good national level data to compare, right? For example, if you have the ACS data that Bibi was talking about, you may want to go and compare and see how your community is doing with the national trends. It's very informative, very, very informative. You can see a trend of broadband home adoption going up, but you can still see gaps between socioeconomic and demographic groups, which is what we were alluding to earlier. So all of these, what Bibi discussed, and these two sources are called secondary data sources, right? Somebody else created them. They are typically generalizable to the extent of where they were captured. So, for example, the national data, you cannot unfortunately use that and say, oh, yeah, this is North Carolina data, right? Or this is Indiana data. It's US data, period. And so that's an advantage and a disadvantage. But that gets us to the other nerdy conversation today, which is primary data. And that's the data that's created by yourself, your organization. And that's where you guys come in. And we're going to get into that shortly. But that's the beauty of the primary data is that you can customize it, right? And you can really truly measure it. The issue with primary data many times is you cannot generalize beyond what you research, right? So if you do it for a particular neighborhood, it'll apply to that. You cannot really, you don't have anything to compare it with, on the other side of the country, for example. But the beauty of it is that it can get very, very detailed. And so that's part of the effort that we're going to be doing with you all as partners in this effort with Amy and her team. But this primary data can really shed light to a lot of dynamics that may help you on the program storytelling, program evaluation side of things, but it can also be tied to a broader, larger impact in your community, which is something we're going to get into shortly. So we just wanted to kind of lay the ground or that foundations of with the data we're talking about, right? It's secondary, primary, it's a mix of both that we're going to be using or you're going to be using for this particular project. Before I turn it over back to Bibi, I continue with it. Before I go there, any questions on primary or secondary data? And we're not going to quiz you or grade you, so please feel free to just ask if you have any questions. Oh, okay. I think somebody unmuted, but maybe it was by mistake. Okay, so next slide. Thank you. So what do we know, right? We know that broadband availability, right? Is it available to particular groups or households? We have seen through this secondary data analyses primarily that there is a regional employment outcomes and startup activity after you control for other factors, and I'm not going to get into the statistics of it, but research has shown clearly that there is higher employment, increased number of startups, and job productivity for more educated, skilled workers when you have better broadband availability. Now, this can be measured in multiple ways, but the general message, right? The general point is that there is a relationship between broadband availability and these variables. If we go to the next side, on broadband adoption, that one is many times you may have available broadband, right? But you may not subscribe to it. You may not adopt it. What we have found, well, not me, but a bunch of other researchers, is that this one also has depending how you measure it, has an impact, or there is a relationship with household level outcomes and regional economic recovery. We have seen it affects income growth, lower poverty, civic engagement, which is very fascinating, and firm employee growth and job productivity. We have also noticed that when we compare both of these to the extent that they can be compared, right, we see that the biggest bang for the buck happens with the adoption piece. And that's really something that many times or oftentimes it's overlooked, right? I know that the digital divide for many is I do not have internet, I need internet. And that's valid and that's okay. But really, if you're going to move the needle, you have to target the adoption piece, assuming the availability is there, right? Because if you don't have it, then you can adopt it. But at the end of the day, between these two dimensions of broadband is that we have seen that adoption really is the one that delivers or has the strongest relationships. And so that's exactly what you guys are doing. And so for that, thank you, because that's part of the digital inclusion ecosystem. So I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague, Bibi.
Yes, thank you, Roberto. So when we think about this adoption side, what we do know is that we have, on the one hand, of course, the device and internet adoption. So having access, high-speed access at home, having access additionally outside of the home, be that on your cell phone, at work, at school, at the library, et cetera, all of those accumulate, right? And then in addition to that, we of course need the devices. So ideally, we would have multiple devices that work well, not just one device per household. That is, of course, what we have to start with when we talk about people who are digitally excluded, but it's often not enough. So that's where that underconnectedness piece comes back in, right? So really fully being able to participate in the digital world requires more than just having that access and having that one device. We need multiple access points and multiple devices. We know that from previous research that leads to internet use and increasing internet skills, and those are interconnected. So it's kind of like almost like a chicken and egg problem, that when people use the internet more, they pick up more skills, they feel more confident, so they will use the internet more. So it's a virtuous cycle, if you will. And then that all combined leads to what we call internet outcomes. So that could be outcomes related to finding a job, finding housing, getting a better rate on your car insurance, getting good deals, learning a new skill, entertainment, right? All of those things are connected. So we know that these things are connected, but what we don't know is how exactly these things work, right? So how do specific regional digital opportunity efforts like this one here at CDE affect individuals, organizations, and then at a higher level, the region overall? And so that's where we come in, and that's where you all come in. And so we are really looking at what works both on the individual level. So what do individuals need to be fully digitally connected? But then also, what do organizations need that are doing this critical work? So what do the organizations need that provide digital equity services to their constituents? And then also what doesn't work, right? This is not everything we're going to try is not going to work. So we need to know both, right? What works, what is working well for both levels, and then what doesn't work. And then if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. We'll try something different. We'll adjust. And then the other facet here is that mechanism, right? So from that organizational level to the individual level, we are also not sure how exactly that works because no one's really looked at that before. That transition point from, the organization helping an individual, how exactly does that then work for the individual, especially at a regional level? And that's where that last point comes in. So what are the overall effects on the region if we have this digital ecosystem and if we're trying to systematically move that needle for digital equity in the region by training organizations to better provide services to their constituents? And then how does that affect the constituents and potentially the region at all? So that's, again, where all that good information that Roberto just gave us on that availability on the macro level, the macro level indicators, that comes in there as well. And I will hand back over to Roberto for this one.
Thank you, Bibi. So now Can you hear me? I thought I was muted. Okay, good. So how will you make a difference? You will make a very big difference. Based on all we've shared up until now, I'm going to pause again and ask, is there any questions, comments, or jokes you would like to make about this situation before we dive into the backbone of what's the evaluation framework of the great work you're doing? Amy, you didn't tell me they were very shy, but okay, it's understandable. I guess we're scary, Bibi. I don't know. But anyhow, okay, so next we're gonna talk about the framework, which is this one. Uh, you're gonna play a critical role of what Bibi just explained of connecting, right? Of telling the story of what happens when the organization gets capacity building, right? And then they implement that capacity building around digital inclusion, obviously, and then it benefits their their clients, their stakeholders, their the folks they work with. What happens after that connection, where it's going to be measured over time? So in the bottom, you can see, as you know, the bottom, you'll see the interventions and reportings that CDE will have with you guys as organizations, right? It's going to come in and it's going to equip you, it's going to train you, whatever the intervention may be, around mindset, infrastructure, and network, which is the overarching framework, right? That we're trying to, what we call in academia, operationalize. Please forgive me that very fancy word, but
Roberto, I'm,
yeah.
I'm just pausing for a sec. Can we pull the presentation back up?
Oh,
I can still see the presentation.
Yeah, the
It should be
presentation
still up, yeah.
I am not seeing it. Okay, sorry.
oh, no worries, Amy. That was a
Roberto,
yes.
David Flynn does have a question, and I'm
Oh,
wondering, David, is it
please.
from the previous slide, or are you questioning this one here?
So I'm willing to ask the possibly very dumb question. So I feel like I've missed something because there's the how you will make a difference. So I feel like there's an activity happening here that, and did go back and check emails and stuff. So what is the thing here that we're talking about engaging with? And I apologize if I'm making you repeat the obvious thing that everybody else knows, but
So
So David, what we're going to be doing is surveying organizations and individuals on their digital journey.
thank you.
I like that, Amy. Digital journey. I'm going to write that one down. Thank you. That's a very good one. So anyhow, so the bottom, the orange box at the bottom of the kind of the trajectory, right, is going to be those interventions. You're going to be reporting CDE, and you both, the organizations, are going to be reporting number of people you work with, workshops, whatever the type of intervention will be, right? Those are typically what's called program outputs. I don't know if there's anybody here familiar with theory of change, aka logic models. If there's anybody here that's all about logic models, I think that this is going to resonate with you. So this one will show what CDE is doing with you in partnership with you guys, and then the impact you're having or the outputs you're having with your communities, right? With your individuals. That's the orange piece, right? Then we come in and we're going to survey both you guys as organizations as to how the CDE interventions are playing out. Through that survey, we're going to measure mindset, we're going to measure the infrastructure, and we're going to measure your partners, the network that you have, right? So basically, we're going to be taking a screenshot of you before CDE came and worked with you. And then over time, we're going to survey you again to see how that's changing over time, right? If any of these mindset, infrastructure, network, et cetera, et cetera. Bear with me. It'll make a lot more sense at the end, I promise. So this is typical program evaluation, right? The outputs, what CDE is doing, what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. And so these two will say, for example, oh, we're missing this area, right? Let's go back, design something to help the organizations to in turn help their folks. That's the course correction right there, right? That's where you're going to be course correcting.
Yes. So if that's straight ahead, look to your.
Oh, Okay, so yes, straight ahead. So course correction here is what happens, right? That's where you guys will make a big difference. And if you recall the boring part about the data sources, this is primary data. This is your data, right? This will allow you to tell great stories about the great work you're doing, right? It's going to resonate with your funders. It's going to resonate with your stakeholders. You can tell the story you want because it's your data, right? But at the same time, it'll help course correct. It'll help CDE kind of know, okay, we've got to invest more here, we've got to tone it down here, whatever the case may be. That's very powerful because many interventions are designed over here in the theory, they're implemented, right? And then you kind of find the results and publish and turn the page. With you guys, you're going to be able to tweak both, right? With the intervention and then the results, the intervention and the results, and you're going to be tweaking that. So that's kind of where we are at this point in the presentation. But then, if you notice at the very top, you're going to have macro indicators which are related to the data that Bibi was sharing, data sources that Bibi was sharing earlier, right? These tend to be, as Bibi said, larger in context, meaning they can be census tracts or it can be counties, states, nation. The problem with these macro indicators is that they're very noisy. We cannot say for a fact, oh, it's because CDE intervened and you guys did a great work, right? That the digital economy moved in your county. That's a very tough one to sell. So what's going to happen is as these things keep moving, the results, the interventions, the results, the interventions, right? Over time, we can assume that you're going to have an impact. And how do we know to what extent you had the impact or not is because we're going to then use what you see on the right, control counties, which is these are counties that have similar socioeconomic characteristics based on the variables that or sources that Bibi shared, right? And then you guys that were intervened by CDE. Now we know your county is large. We're not claiming causality at all, but if the trends are moving in the same relative direction of what your interventions should have been pointing to begin with, then you can say we played a role in that. We were not directly responsible or solely responsible for it, but we played a role. And that language is the one that policymakers, right, state folks really like, right? The macro indicators. Don't shoot the messenger. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. But the beautiful thing of all of this is that you guys are going to be able to tell the individual customized story you want to tell of your organization, right? And the individuals you're working with. But collectively, for CDE, they're going to come in and they can kind of make the argument, oh, based on the trends in the control counties, our intervention is working. So I'm going to stop there because I know that was a bunch of nerdy stuff, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that you will be making a big difference. This would not work were it not for you guys. You are the backbone of this entire journey, digital journey, as Amy described it. Does it make sense? Does anybody have questions? Did I lose anybody? Please.
Can I interject just
Yes.
briefly to sort of connect all the pieces? So many of you on the call have been with us for a while, and you can recall the times where we may have gotten questions like, so we collectively gave out X number of computers, so what? So we collectively help people connect to the internet at no cost with the city, so what, right? And so what this is getting at is we're not just basing it off of these national numbers and data points. We want to try to create some sort of correlation and some local data that at the end of the day, as Roberto mentioned, tells the story of how this ecosystem has been powerful enough not only to count the widgets and tell the wonderful stories, but to really create the larger impact. And you can start to see some movement in those larger data points. And so I just wanted to sort of connect that journey of how we got here. We've been going through these motions for years and going, so what? And finally, this past year, we partnered with Dr. Gallardo and Bibi to really bring this together and be able to say, okay, how do we tell the story of the ecosystem? And this is how we do it. And this is where you all come in, and your role plays a big role, because we can't do it without the ecosystem data to be able to show the power of the ecosystem.
Bingo.
I just want to follow that up, just because we as a community are ambitious. It is the big systemic indicators. Can we move a community? But we got a little ambitious, guys, and we're going to be able to tell some stories for real individuals too. Natalie will drop a good article that came out from Oregon that we have permission to print that tells you guys the story of a couple users and how it really impacted their economic life, that it really changed the amount of money they made for their families. And so not only are we going to be able to look at some of the big systemic data, but we're going to be able to look at individual learner data to begin to figure out, so this helped you build a small business? Tell me more about that. Or this helped you speak and understand and communicate with your doctor differently. Can you tell us more about that? So it's stories on both ends of the continuum. And what, we really hope as this comes together, the beauties that's going to be in the middle of that.
Yes. So thank you both. Thank you. Yes. So basically, thank you for partnering. And I really look forward to the stories we're gonna see, the data we're gonna gather, because then Bibi and I are already drooling about the possibility to then hammer in down more on the research side, which of these mindset infrastructure network had the biggest impact on the macro indicators. If that's the case, we're going to be able to contribute to the digital inclusion knowledge, right? Because as you heard Bibi earlier, there's still some unknowns, there's still some question marks. So this is going to help partially address those questions. So now I'm going to really please ask questions, any comments, any thoughts that you have on this. We can now move to the Q&A piece.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Janice Graham with Goodwill Industries of the Southern Piedmont. I just have a question around the data collection. Can you talk a little bit about the mechanism for that and the frequency and uh, what the expectations will be for collecting the data in reference to the participants who we serve and our organization?
Amy, do you want to take that one, or do you want me?
I can. So, Janice, that was an incredibly good question, and my little brain's trying to keep up with it. So, the way we're going to get started, and we're actually starting now, is we will begin to survey the organizations who are participating in a program called Connect Tech. And organizations will start their initial assessment about, where is my organization in terms of digital inclusion right here, right now, at this moment in time? So they will take that assessment initially. Some of the inputs is we are then going to be helping them work with their clients, customers, neighbors, however they are serving. And we'll do a couple things. We'll provide some really high quality basic training around internet usage and around the basic skills of what this machine can do for you. And actually, we'll go into that a little bit more in depth in a little bit. But then all of those learners start with a survey too. Where are you as a learner getting started in terms of some of the things Bibi referenced earlier? Do you have internet at home? Have you ever used this crazy machine? How many kids are in your home and are they ready to use a computer? All the kinds of family data, individual data that will give us a really good picture of where this human being is starting. And then there will be regular updates to those surveys. Now, we may get some of the same people. We may not always be able to resurvey some of those initial people, but we will be able to resurvey people very similar to them over time. Perhaps think 25-year-olds with only a GED. Can we track them a little bit? Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm visiting someone's home. And so then we will resurvey the organizations and add organizations as we go.
And I'll add a little bit to that. That the plan right now is to do the survey at least twice per year. And so, as to Amy's point, it's within the same demographic because we're not asking for PII when it comes to the individualized surveys. And so we're using SurveyMonkey and we're doing sort of a collaborative where it's an organization and the individuals they serve. So that way we could sort of see the data across that over time. And right now the plan is to do it over a 3-year span. And so by doing it within these programs, it sort of allows us to see that progress without necessarily tracking specific individuals.
Okay, thank you. That was a great response because my organization, we will be participating in that program. So that's why we're so curious. Because also when it comes to data collection, just want to make sure that we're doing everything on the front end to uh, help the participant understand what their experience is going to look like. Like, should we put in our outreach material that you'll be participating in a survey, we'll be reaching out to you, to see, about your progress, should we put all that up front? Because using our career center, we also look to see if people obtain jobs. And so I found that it's better to let people know at the beginning that their success is our success. That's the language I use. And should we be using this in this program as well? That way, when we do reach out, it's like, oh yeah, I remembered when I enrolled that you told me that you may be reaching out to me again. But I think I also heard you say we may or may not be reaching out to the same people. But I just think that it could be helpful to get some data from the people who have gone through the program and may have lost touch over time. But thank you to your responses.
There are a few
Natalie?
questions. Yeah, there are a few questions in the chat. So will the surveys be available in multiple languages? And Amy, I guess you can take that because it's only one right now.
The survey is only available in Spanish right now, but we have already heard from organizations that we may need to consider expanding that, as there are about 7 primary languages in the Charlotte region.
And then the other question is, will we be able to follow the data in real time, like a dashboard, or will it be disseminated in a report format? And what I answered to that is because we will be compiling the information or the data twice per year, this will likely become part of our impact reports. And so if you don't yet get those, let us know so that we are able to connect and provide those to you. And I think those were the couple questions, but we'll open it up if anybody wants to come off mute and ask others.
I have a quick follow-up. This is Gia. Good afternoon, everybody, from Strive CLT. I heard you say that it will likely be included in the impact report. And I know, and I also heard you say that we too will be able to use this data as part of our story. Will we also be able to use the data as part of our own impact reports? Will it be stratified in that way that we will be able to do that?
We love that so much. And our data is your data because we are a community. The only reason we do this is to serve the community. So our data is your data, and we love that you're thinking about how you could use it in your own reporting.
Thank you very much. I'm just a bit of a data nerd. I love all this talk about data. Y'all are
And
making
Gia,
my afternoon.
since you're a data nerd, I'll follow up on that. We have been collectively working towards a public-facing data dashboard. And I think ultimately, when we get to a point where people are submitting data on a regular basis, that'll also become something that's turned on our website all the time for our partners. So just FYI.
Thank you for that. Makes great sense. Thank you.
So, Bibi, Roberto, when are you thinking you'll have kind of enough to say something?
Well, at minimum 2 waves, right? So if we have the baseline data, so the data that we collect before you start the program, both from the organizations and their constituents, and then have at least a second wave after the organizations have worked with CDE for a while, and then we have that second wave of data collection from the constituents, then we can already say something about, the progress that's been made. But the more the better, right? We're data nerds, so the more data we get, the happier we are.
Well, some of us are data nerds.
Definitely Roberto and I.
Gia, Natalie, yeah, we've got a lot of them. Nat, are you seeing any more questions in the chat?
No, but I wanted to ask one maybe Bibi and Roberto can touch on lightly is how do you think this data will help businesses in our communities to find or add to their funding opportunities or even our partner organizations, right?
You want to go first, Roberto, and I can add on, or vice versa?
No, go
So
ahead.
certainly having the data from your constituents is going to be really valuable, right? Because you will be able to show between point A before we started working with CDE and point B after we've worked with them for a while, this is what our clientele was gaining from what we were doing. And that's huge in terms of future funding or anything like that, because you will be able to say, focusing on XYZ is really moving the needle forward for the people that we're working with. And then that will allow you to say, we need more funding for specifically that because we have just figured out that this is what works, right? So that would be part of it. And then like Amy said, the qualitative data that come with that, that's going to be the storytelling part, right? The hard data, funders love that, but the qualitative data, the stories, that's really what gets people and what gets them to understand the importance of the work that you're doing.
And to add to that, what we're seeing here, well, nationally too, is this is really workforce development that's going on, and from a public policy perspective, one of the last things that are cut is workforce development. So if you can argue or spin this story where you are making or helping your constituents become more digital inclusive, or they're being included, that opens the door for upskilling, reskilling. There's emerging research that is showing time and time again that foundational digital skills are very much needed to upskill and reskill, right? And so populations that have high school or some college are ripe for that reskilling and upskilling. So whomever your community is that you're working with, right, I can almost assure you, you can make the argument that you're contributing to workforce development in your community. And as you know, that may result in funding, right? Because parallel to this, I'm working on another national project on workforce and alternative funding for digital equity around workforce development. And that's exactly what we're finding is that you guys are doing workforce development. It's just that the workforce development funding agencies don't know it, right? Because it's the traditional kind of focus. But when you get all this story, this impact, this data, you're going to easily be able to tell that story and hopefully leads to additional funding.
And I just have to follow up on that just because I think you guys pivoted so well. As you think about that workforce development continuum of folks starting at the very basic of levels, now all the way to AI, when this project was developing, we weren't thinking about asking people about their AI experience, knowledge, use at all. And Bibi stopped us in our tracks a couple weeks ago and said, we have to capture this data because that workforce continuum is exceptionally broad. So we're just so thankful you caught that. Mm-hmm. We're thankful for a lot of things with you too. Other questions, Nat?
Not seeing any in the chat.
So what happens now is we are actually going to take our community through how we are implementing this on the ground with our initial Connect Tech partners. Y'all are welcome to hang around and spend time with us. I know you're actually traveling a little bit. If you have to sign off, we say as a community, thank you, happiest of holidays. And it is just a joy and a pleasure to partner with you.
Amy, you're talking to specifically Roberto and Bibi, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure.
Only
Everyone else has to stay.
Yeah, everybody else, we got to keep going.
Oops. Well,
I'll be hanging around.
Yeah. Well, I've got
Thank
to
you for
step
having
out.
us.
Yeah, I've got to step out, but it's a pleasure to meet you all. We are not AI bots. We are humans. So we're glad that Amy invited us and Nat here. But hey, keep up the great work you're doing. Happy holidays. Hey, how are you? And enjoy the rest of your meeting. And please reach out if you have any questions to Amy, and we're here to help you. Okay, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you. So guys, we threw a lot of information at you very, very quickly. We're going to jump next into Connect Tech, but does anybody need to pause and ask any questions or make a comment?
This is exciting. I mean, it just seems like a great opportunity to be able to see what each of our little pebbles can make and create.
Well, on that note, Carola, don't go anywhere because I'm going to start with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you saw, and some of you did the actual scoring for all the applications that came in for Connect Tech. I want to step back and just do a little overview again of what is Connect Tech. You remember our history. It all started with helping the library distribute computers. And then we went to individual distributions. And then we began distributing to organizations who were doing their own work. And through all of that, it came back that unless there is a really great skilling component attached, then we don't get the whole adoption piece that a person best deserves. So Connect Tech is the distribution of computers to organizations who are doing skilling work. And then they get to choose how to do that skilling work. We spent almost a year upskilling our digital navigators to be terrific facilitators in the community using our North Star license. So the organization can say, we'd like to pick track 1. We'd like you to come in and do the skilling for us, do the surveying for us, and we'll be in the room with you. We'll learn lots of things, but we don't feel quite ready to take this on ourselves. Or they could pick track 2, which says we have some pretty strong facilitator skillers in our organization. We're going to watch you in session 1, and then of course come back for session 4 to do some of the data collection you need to do, but we've kind of got it covered. We're also going to use your North Star license. Or you can pick track 3, which says CDE, you're fabulous, but we have our own curriculum. We're very devoted to it, and it's serving our residents, customers, clients, neighbors particularly well. So we don't necessarily need your curriculum. So we only go in on session 1 to do a little data collection and get them all going. So they picked track 1, track 2, or track 3. Some really innovative organizations picked a couple tracks and said, we're going to start here, but we want to be able to end here. So we are now going to introduce our Connect Tech partners. They are going to tell us a little bit about why they applied for this program and specifically who they're going to serve. So Carola, can we start with you?
Absolutely. And I'll call on Janice also so that you can keep me honest. And if I miss anything, Janice, please feel free to add it in. So one of the, just in taking a step back and looking at how the Computer Essentials training really helps and supports our community, we obviously, there's the building of the foundation for the digital equities, that's digital skills, that's just basic. These classes teach basic operations, internet navigation, email usage, file management. So it's really helpful, but it also gives them that opening of how do I apply for jobs? What is my email address? Where can I get a response for a job that I've applied to, et cetera. So it helps in bullet point number 2 would be increasing workforce readiness. Many of the jobs that we see now that are at a livable wage require digital competency. So definitely that is something that's important and basic to be able to meet these requirements and improve employability. It also opens the pathways to more advanced training, more advanced opportunities. There's just so much out there, so many free skills that people can go on and do through this program on their own. Then they have enhanced access to resources. So just think about telehealth, online banking, government services. So it reduces all of the barriers that is caused by digital knowledge. And it gives the communities the ability to be able to feel confident, independent, and really gives the individuals that engagement in their civic activities. So in the long run, it ends up that it impacts our community, it impacts our children's educations because parents are able to support and help them more. And it leads with closing that equity gap, which is what we all want. So really focusing in on how to close that, not just the digital divide, but really that equity gap so that our communities can thrive and prosper. Janice, anything that I've missed?
No, you did a great job. I'll just add that we were also part of the original distribution of laptops back in maybe 2021 or 2022 with the library, and that's how I got into the work and really got excited working with the library and the laptop distribution. And then also, like Carola said, and also the presenter talked about how these digital skills connect to workforce development. So we all know that, you know, you need these basic skills to apply for a job, to do well on the job. And then the last thing I'm going to say is that, you know, at Goodwill, we're not just trying to uplift our participants, but also uplift our team members who come into the store. You know, we have people who are working for us that are literal, hangers or collecting materials so we can use toward the mission all the way up to the CEO. And we want to help those people as well. We're really trying to help people who come to work for us get access to these skills so they can have the life that they want to achieve. So this whole program allows us to help two groups of people, our participants and our team members, and helping them um, toward the life that they want to achieve. And it's been great working with you all in the last few months, coming into the career centers, and we're excited to see where this more intensive model will take us. I'll also just end with the fact that we had stopped doing basic computer work at Goodwill a few years ago, and we are so excited that in partnering with you, we're able to bring it back to our participants. So very excited to be here and be working with you on this level.
Thank you. Thank you. Anna, you want to tell us about what's going to happen at Latin American Coalition?
Ana, ¿estás ahí? Creo que no está Ana. ¿Me escuchan? You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Go ahead, Alejandra. Thank you.
Oh, it's Alejandra.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. It's still an A. Yeah, Anna had to step out. But well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alejandra Roldan, and I am working for the Latin American Coalition, which is a nonprofit that has been in North Carolina for 35 years. Most of the community that we serve are immigrants, and we can say at least 80 to 90% are Hispanics. So Spanish and English are both languages that we have here every single day, you can say. But we still have people from other communities that, come by and ask for assistance. Um, in our department, the Workforce Development Department, we have seen that one of the main issues, we might say, that people have is no internet. That's one thing, no computer, but also when they're looking for work and people tell them we need a resume, so they start, okay, so what's a resume? And we explain that, in very specific ways, but then when they know that they have to do it in a computer, that's when the stress comes up. So it's for me personally, it's very uplifting in seeing that people learn from the basics, from very get to know the computer, etc., and then see them with a job and doing so well. So people are very thankful with the coalition, and of course with the help of you guys. We are educating and empowering the community, which that's what I love to do. Yes. So thank you.
Thank you. Gia, Margot, you want to tell us what's going to happen at Strive?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gia Page, and I'm currently the Director of Youth Programs and Education Services at Strive CLT. And I have the pleasure of working being able to soon work a little bit more closely with Miss Margot. But currently, what we are planning on doing is continuing with some of the work that had been going on prior to my arrival. I've been with Strive only since April of last year. And so at that point, they were serving mostly seniors of a particular age group. Shortly after I got there, because of the demand, they had kind of started, or we had kind of started lowering the age because other people were requesting to be in the community, were requesting to be able to be a part of the courses that were happening. And we serve in the Southside Homes community, by the way. I don't think I said that. And so now what we have the privilege of doing is continuing that with some new learners, continuing the education of the learners that were with Ms. Margot before, and also touching upon a new group within our community, which are parents. And we will start with those younger adults who are parents of students in our after-school program. And so because we do serve families intergenerationally, in Southside Homes. It's really a pleasure to be able to include the parent group. Um, Everybody has a different need, and maybe Miss Margot, you can talk more to the need of the group that you have been serving with us. And what I can say is that what we will do with the parent group is definitely directly connected to workforce development. Um, these courses will empower them, enable them to expand on skills that they already have. I really appreciate the map. While you guys were talking, I was busy typing in, the addresses and looking to see exactly where we were falling. And so I see that we're somewhere in the moderate range, which was nice to see. And we want to see us, of course, in the high range, really being digitally literate. And so what we know is that as we serve these older adults, this will trickle down and serve the kids. And so we're just looking forward to, I am looking forward to empowering the parent group while still supporting and serving their elders and the things that they need just to be able to get by in life now, as somebody else mentioned. And so Margot, if you wanted to add something else.
Okay. A lot of you know me. I've been around for a good long time doing technology training, but I came on with, am I muted?
No, just low.
Oh, okay. Can you
Or
hear me
maybe
now?
that's me. Is it
Can
me?
can you hear me now?
No, her volume's very quiet.
My volume. Okay, let's see if I can turn it up. I got an old laptop here, so it could be the laptop. I'll just try to talk louder.
There you go.
So anyway, like I said, I've been around doing technology work for a long time, and I started out with Stride, I guess in 2023, because Livian had changed some of their requirements and it created a dashboard or a portal, not a dashboard, a portal for the residents there to sign up and to put in their applications and everything was online now. So Dr. Strive, you know, asked me if I could, put together some training. I have my own curriculum, so I've been doing it for a while. So we focus mostly on the seniors. And like Gia says, her coming on, they're going to probably expand that to adults as well, to parents. But I'm going to stick with my seniors. I love my seniors, and my curriculum is specialized for their needs. Most of them have very low skill sets, and they were very, very excited about the opportunity to come through this class. And one of the things we did from the onset was we created a model that was a learn to earn. You come to the class, you participate in the class, you have to have a certain number of classes that you meet, and you get a laptop so that you can go home and not only try to remember all this stuff, but you get a laptop to take home at the end of the class, so that you have this, not only the skill set, but you have the tools now to practice. And so we're going to continue that. We've done about 4 cohorts last couple of years, and they've been very successful. We always have residents that want to go. Someone want to go through the class again. So what we're looking at possibly doing is having other options where we always tell them about the resources they have at the library and other resources within the community, but we may also have some other resources like little short workshops or seminars or little pop-ups, and things like that where they can come back and brush up on things. So it's been a great experience. Kind of semi brought me out of retirement. So I'm excited about the data. I mean the project with I think it's UNC to collect this data, because that's one of the biggest things, is trying to figure out how this is really truly impacting the community. So it'll be nice to have some research and experts behind that helping us to do that, and so that we don't have to focus so much on that. So, but I mean, I appreciate it, and we're excited to continue. I really wasn't sure just how how much different what we've been doing was going to change with Connect Tech. I don't think it's changing a lot except for the two North Star modules that we're going to do the assessment, but that's pretty easy. I've looked at North Star years ago, and I'm pretty sure my curriculum is in line with that. So we're ready and looking forward to it. So thank you.
Margot, I shouldn't say this publicly, but do you want to guess what operating system E2D is going to put in your hands?
I sure hope it's Windows 11.
I'll let them tell you about it when they do their partner update. But I believe you may be correct.
Oh, gee, thank you. Because I am not a Linux fan. I mean, nothing wrong with Linux, but that's another whole nother thing I got to try to incorporate. So thank you. We're going back to Windows.
Thank you. Zulani, I'm wondering if you could talk about Camino a little bit.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tulani. I was working in Camino, like in a Riva program, 2 years. I'm teaching now with the program North Star Literacy. I enjoy giving class because the people are learning a lot about how to connect, how can do the basics for internet. They can know a lot of things they don't know. But I love teaching class. Camino is an organization that has like more than 20 years helping people, a quite healthy life. There are a lot of things in Camino. They provide food, they have clinic, they have mental health program. I'm nervous.
You're doing fine. We're nervous because we might think you might be driving. And that's a really good overview. We appreciate it. And you just stay safe. We have one more organization who couldn't be with us today, but that's Caterpillar up north in Huntersville. So I'm sure you'll be hearing from them. And I will pause again. Does anybody want to comment, make inquiry, anything about the organizations or the Connect Tech program?
This is Kimberly. I'll come offline.
Kimberly!
Yes, no, it is a great pleasure to listen to this report. At the end of the year, just started off with you all in the very beginning of the inception of really trying to help solve some digital equity problems and challenges, and just to see how much the organization has evolved. I'm really excited about the presentation that was shared. On my side, as you know, I have been representing the African Caribbean diaspora community for some time. And it was just to learn about the outcomes that I just heard just now. And for me, as an integrative interdisciplinarian, it was a matter of having to help bring together a unified approach for the community that was pretty much fragmented, but also recognize that they are here. And so we had to strategize with bringing the African think tank from another market to here. And since then, we have been able to evolve and be recognized for, bringing together the community. And we have facilitated some workshops, and there is a need for the Connect Tech group. I mean, there's a program now where we are with the tracks. We've held workshops. We've both with career development, family and education, as well as entrepreneurship. And so there's a need to provide workforce development training, but also giving them some technology. And so it's just a matter of now me plugging back in with you all to see where we can take where we are now. And we do have a logic model. We have a lot of this stuff has come together in a very beautiful way that we can just plug in and pray. And so I am happy to hear this news, and then also happy to hear the resources that have come to bear and the holistic approach to how we are tackling digital equity. So that's all. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing, and we'll come back around on a side note.
Yeah, just great to hear your beautiful, brilliant voice. So good to hear it. Kimberly, Natalie will drop a link to Connect Tech in the chat in case you want to read up it at all. Sounds like you've done a lot of evolving and growing too.
Amy, I think Margot had something. Margot, were you going to say something?
I was just curious, Kimberly, I missed the name of the organization that she was with.
So my company's Global Impact Industries, but the company that's my client is the African Think Tank.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Amy, and I'm dropping the link right now.
Thank you. Any questions, thoughts, anything anyone wants to take a moment for? On that note, it is time to get back to partner updates. So, David, because you are in the chat box, you're going to start today.
Actually, I think the major fun thing is to report is that we had, thank you to CDE and E2D, we yesterday, in fact, had a major laptop distribution here at Habitat Charlotte Region. I heard a report in our operating committee this morning. People were just so excited. I think we had a significant line. Someone showed up at 2 o'clock for a 4 o'clock start. And, we were able to serve both our critical home repair homeowners as well as our new homeowners. So, thanks to folks. There's such an alignment, I think, between, our families and you all heard me evangelize, right? I was listening earlier and thinking, of course, this is core to what the CDE and E2D are about, which is you cannot function in this society without, internet, both availability and experience and understanding. And so the fact that y'all are able to bring that to our homeowners is fantastic. So that was just very exciting to have that happen. I think that's the big thing I have to report from our work.
Thank you. Jamar, anything from the city?
Yeah. So I want to say back in November 20th, we closed the applications for the Learn to Earn grants. So we are currently internally reviewing the applications, and we're looking to begin to announce the awards of the nonprofits doing some of this work mid-January. So definitely want to highlight that. Thanks to not only the vendor for platform team, but also team internally who's providing some assistance, which should be Lindsay McCleary, Rebecca Serena, and Pernell Brown. So looking forward to reviewing each of the applications. We're looking to award about 15 of them. We had 45 applications submitted, so that was great. And looking forward to it.
Jamar, we're so excited too. It's just we're all getting down the road, aren't we? Yeah, it's awesome. I thought we were going to get a big report from the library, but it looks like no one's here. E2D, you want to tell us what's going on, specifically mentioning that cool simulation?
It's on my list.
First of all, David, we had a great time at Habitat yesterday. We combined those two events. We were supposed to have our critical home repair last Friday, but because the weather was so terrible and because so many critical home repair clients are in that aging population, we did not want them driving out in all that rain and potential whatever was coming. So we actually combined the two events, and I think it went really, really well. We had a good showing, and huge thank you to our sponsor Bearings for that because they are the reason we're able to do that work. So yeah, it was a great event. Thank you
Yeah,
for
but I'm glad to hear
mentioning.
that. And actually, by the way, so part of the conversation that happened this morning was, do we need to start earlier in our cycle with our applicants as opposed to waiting until people are homeowners? Because so y'all may be having conversations with our folks down the line about that. But yeah,
Sounds
no, thank
good.
you. It was fantastic, and it got a rave review. So
Awesome. Yay. So I'm going to kind of give you an update of E2D just kind of for the year since we're at the end of the year. Our incoming laptop donations we're going to be over 20,000 this year, which is incredible. We did pick up a few more corporate donors of laptops, which is always so helpful. It fuels our work, right? Outgoing laptops, we're definitely going to do over 12,000 this year. Last year was 11,500, so definitely keeping with that growth, which is really amazing. Mecklenburg County, I think our data is a little bit unclean right now just because we transitioned into HubSpot this year. And so we have a lot of data cleanup that we still have to do. But I think our Mecklenburg County distributions will be about over 4,000. And of course, that includes a lot of work with the Center for Digital Equity. Like David said, we were at Habitat yesterday. We've had a very busy couple of weeks. We had a big distribution on Saturday at Camino. Thank you, Zuli and team, for hosting us. It was amazing. And then today and tomorrow, we're doing some more work, Bearings work, that's affordable housing. And so today we're at Shelton Knoll Apartments, and tomorrow we'll be at Swan Run Apartments. They're both little holiday events for the neighborhoods. So closing out the year strong with our Bearings work, which makes us really happy. And of course, we have a very busy January starting out. I just got the email from Ashley Page about all these great laptops that need to go to these incredible organizations that you heard from today, Camino and Strive and Latin American Coalition and Caterpillar and Goodwill. So really excited to be getting those laptops out to these groups in January. Our programming, we did a diagnostic day in September. These continue to be needed, necessary. Not, I wouldn't say they're huge events because we can't have them be huge events, but we did repair and diagnose about 40 laptops, which is really incredible for that kind of event. We also have started hosting PBA academies again, which PBA academies are digital skilling sessions that we do specifically in Spanish speaking communities. And so we held one of those in October, which is super successful. We've had 3 in 2025. Each one of those serves about 12 people. I think we're going to try to do 2 next year. We held one in July this year, and summer is just hard. So I think we're going to do one in the spring, one in the fall. We are hosting the request list for Mecklenburg County now, and that's going really well. It's brought back our Tech Tuesday program, which is where we try once a month on a Tuesday, typically the 3rd Tuesday of the month. We try to host some kind of a distribution out of our Avid Exchange lab to try to, chip away at that request list. We do have a way for people to kind of mention that they need financial assistance, and so we're trying to host as many distributions as we can that are free, but we also have distributions where clients are paying $100 for the E2D laptop. What else did I want to tell you about? DDA at Camino, I told you about that.
Hey,
We are in
Chris,
the process.
your scratch and dent too, because I heard a couple people talking about it.
Yeah, so that's kind of a way for us to solve problems for people who need financial assistance. We have an inventory. It's very small, so don't go spreading this word around because it is really small. But we do have kind of this scratch and dent inventory where it's a computer that we just can't ask anyone to spend money on it, but it's a really, really good computer. still and is very viable and usable. And so we kind of keep those to solve problems as we see them. And so in November, we used a good bit of those that we had in our inventory to host one of these free Tech Tuesday distributions to try to get computers out to people who needed that financial assistance. So we have ways of helping. Funding is always great, and I'm hoping to secure a partner next year to host a couple of those free events. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, everybody, for us. I think that's kind of it with our programming. Just lots of we're in the planning stages of what does 2026 look like. So stay tuned for that, for dates and that kind of thing. But yes, we held this digital simulation event in November. It was incredible. It was an organization called KC Digital out of Kansas City. And they created this digital simulation event that they are now taking across the country. If you've ever participated in a poverty simulation, it's very similar. There are personas that you take on. You could potentially be someone who has everything that they need, and you get to sit at your table and work or chit chat or do whatever you want the whole time. Or you could be like Mo from North End Community Coalition, who participated, and he, poor guy, he had to ride the bus everywhere he went. And so he was constantly standing at a bus stop with a little timer waiting on the bus to get him where he needed to go. Of course, the big resource is the library. And so everybody would always end up, all pathways lead to the library, right? And so they would go to the library and try to use the computer lab, but the person in charge of it, all of a sudden 2 out of the 4 laptops that are for public use are down and not working. But everywhere people would go, whether it was the city for water services or uh, for repairs on laptops, everywhere you went, you had to have paperwork filled out. You had to have an email address. And if you didn't have those skills, then how did you do that? And the personas kind of said, this is what your knowledge is. This is what you have access to. Some people were, you have access to what you need, but you're also helping to take care of your elderly neighbor, and you kind of take her everywhere you go and that kind of thing. So it was a really incredible event. We had a lot of community partners there. We had corporate partners. Allied sponsored it. And so we had a lot of volunteers from them participating. And in the end, we did have, table sessions where each table could talk about the event and talk about various things. I think it was a really great event. So we're hoping to be able to, we can actually buy into being a leader of it. We can learn how to do it ourselves. And so potentially that's on the docket for 2026. We're not sure yet, but it was a really great event.
Yeah, we heard that, and that's just so cool. Hey,
Christy.
Jamar, I just want to follow up. Anything you want to tell us about the Broadband Expo conference? Anything you heard there where you're like, oh, we need to know this in Charlotte?
There we go. I think kind of like my general take from it was a lot of businesses, not a lot of representation when we're talking about like the customer, with the exception, there was a fantastic gentleman there who mentioned who basically they in I think it's a city, it's a town in Alabama, and they have a broadband fund that they contribute to there in the state of Alabama. So they have been able to utilize that fund to provide internet to like residents in like affordable residential households, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
And so that was pretty good. Um, but like I said, yeah, in the chat, I was glad to be able to participate in in the event before going, because I got to reference it and kind of utilize this to bring it to the attention of the audience members, um, just to give some insight on really needling down about uh, kind of processes, uh, and how things may be a bit difficult for residents, like without internet. You just never, for those who may not experience, you just never know until you have the opportunity to really kind of put your feet in the shoes of somebody who may not have it. And so I got to kind of use that experience to kind of say that and share that, and it kind of garnered some good conversations after the panel discussion I was on. So great
Christy,
job, E2D.
Christy, I just want to comment also that I didn't think they could pull it off. I actually went to the same simulation when Casey Digital Divide was practicing it with the Denver City team. And I'm like, this is not going to work online, but it did work. So if you ever want to get together and think we might be able to do that and get some real online participation, that might be fun.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we were in person.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the online experience would be. But it was an incredible day. We had a great time.
Friends, CDE.
I think Margot has a question.
Okay.
Look, I have got, since Amy brought it up, I have got to hear that out of your mouth, Christy, about the operating system. Please make me happy.
We do have Windows 11, and it's something I know we have a conversation with CDE coming up about Connect Tech and kind of our partnership. And so, yeah, I do think everything we're doing in January is going to be Windows 11. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to hear it. Thank
you. It wasn't a long-term promise, but it's a short-term promise.
Okay, all right.
CDE staff, any other partners? I'm just going to open the floor to anyone who.
This is Todd. I need to say something. I've been working on something that I never thought was going to be a problem. Christy, you know all the laptops we've given out in the past? A whole ton of people have been calling me, mostly parents that have kids in school, and they're losing keys. I now have bags of keycaps. And for any of you, yeah, they drop them, they do stuff, keys are being lost all the time on the keyboard. It's crazy. So anybody that works with computers or teaches or knows other people, go grab yourself a bag of, mostly they're Dells or they're HPs, mostly, but grab yourself some keycaps, because sure as shooting, they're gonna be losing them, and then they think the computer is trash and they don't want to work on it anymore, even though they could touch on the empty space, but who wants to do that? So please think about buying a few keycaps so that when people say they need a computer, ask them if they have one already that might have keys that are broken. And that's so simple to fix. That's all I had to say.
Todd, it's so good to see you. Anything else from the group at large?
I have a question. I'm curious about what's happening out there around AI and how we may have to quickly extend some of the teaching to kind of dip into AI to prepare people for that platform as well.
I can answer that, and I'm so glad you brought it up because I would have forgotten to say this. Natalie very soon will begin extending invitations to bring voice around any of the digital inclusion things you think CDE specifically and the community at large should be really building focus around. So everyone can watch for that and really be thinking about, when your brain has a few moments like, how should I be directing this? Because I know there are things we need to do. And so you will begin to hear from Natalie around bringing voice to our next strategic planning process. And we would so appreciate your feedback.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Because I think our last meeting was on AI, and we know, gosh, we've got to figure something out before people get hurt. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Janice, I'll say specifically in, I would say around the spring. And what we'll do is, because we're moving into the next phase and creating a whole new 3-year strategic plan. And so we really want to ensure that everyone's voice and input is included in how this plan is structured and what items we need to focus on.
Great. Thanks,
Spring.
Natalie.
Natalie, in my mind, spring starts officially January 1st. That's it.
Sure. Yes. I love it. Let's just skip right over winter. I'm good with that. David, I think, has something.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
David.
the weather may not cooperate with you, but it's worth a shot. And I apologize for chiming in again, but I felt like I buried something, and so I want to make sure I'm crystal clear. With the event we had yesterday, so always people are excited about getting laptops. Obviously, that's that's a thing that's high top of people's minds. It's easy to see and understand and sell. I will also tell you that the other rave that happened was about the digital navigators and what they've brought to our homeowners. So I don't know if I was really clear enough about that, and I wanted to underscore it because, again, to me, it is absolutely goes hand in hand. You give someone a device, it doesn't do them any good if you don't show them how to use it and how to set it up. And so I really want to underscore the value the digital navigators are bringing. And again, that was one of the things that was called out explicitly this morning in our team meeting. So.
We love to hear that. And I think I know Tiffany is on here, and I know Tiffany takes lead in a lot of those. So I really want to do a huge shout out to her. And I know several of the digital navigators that were there are on. So I'm glad that I'm hopeful that they all heard that we're celebrating you right now.
Two final notes. Our February Community Council, which will be on February 12th, will be in person. It's going to be kind of a big deal. We're not going to tell you much yet, but plan on before Christmas. You should see an invite in your inbox, because we rarely do this because it is a community meeting, but we are going to need to ask for your RSVP for that event, just because we have some particular planning that needs to happen. And then the other thing you should be watching for is the next cohort of Connect Tech. You will see that application going out in February 16th, I believe. So if you were hesitant or didn't have enough time or didn't quite understand the program and think, oh, I don't know if we should apply, you should apply and be watching for that. And of course, Natalie put the link to a little bit of narrative in the chat box. Notes will get out. We will include a playlist, perhaps an ecosystem celebration, she says. So many happy holidays to you and yours. We value every single thing you bring to the table and are so grateful for your time and thought and energy. And I know I always get in trouble, but we crazy love you. Happy holidays.